Karen, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here and your big smiling face looking at me right now. You're here representing UnLtd, obviously the chair of UnLtd.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the business for now?
So I joined UnLtd I joined the board of UnLtd about 8 years ago, or coming up to 8 years ago. I took the chair role in January. But before any of that, I've kind of been involved in an agency level as an agency supporter. So when UnLtd came in to do different programs, I was always working with them sort of in the background.
Amazing. We should probably tell for those people who don't know. I mean, everyone knows, but let's just reconfirm. What do UnLtd do? What's their purpose?
Yeah, so look, UnLtd brings together, what I think is probably the best of the industry, behind a special purpose of using sort of media marketing and advertising skills to help charities and partners in the disadvantaged youth space. So we do an array of different things to support charities that, perhaps don't have those marketing skills in-house or don't get government funding. And we help them with marketing challenges to try and help them scale.
It's such a cool business concept. I remember when I first bumped into UnLtd because I feel like that's how it happens. You end up at like a sailing event or a big, what's the big bash?
Well, we do the Big Bash cricket, or we do quite a few things. There's the Big Dream, which is coming up soon, where we celebrate the industry that help us. There's quite a number of different opportunities, and then we also do a lot of mental health events and different things which you've been a part of. So,
yeah, I've loved my time with UnLtd. And why did you get into this? Why is this such an important program for you to be part of?
So, look, it's a couple of things. I know I think I've touched on it with you, but about 15 years ago, I got a phone call from someone in my family, my niece, who at the time was sleeping rough, and she had a baby that had just been born, and the government, due to some lifestyle factors, had decided to intervene and permanently remove Bella from her care. So I decided at that point in time with my now ex-husband to step in, and we took Bella into our family. It was quite a challenge, had 2 other kids, but at the same time I felt like I could give back a bit more, so I kind of wanted to do something with that. But what it did was it really opened my eyes up to a number of different things. So I met her biological father for the first time on closed circuit television while he was incarcerated. I later heard about some of the challenges that he'd had with his life. I knew some of the things that my niece had been unfortunate enough to experience in her life that had resulted in her, not being able to make good choices at that time. So, and then you get exposed to family and community services when you take in a foster child permanently, and it just made me want to do more and give back more. So it's kind of really born out of that. And I think separately to that, I just believe in the purpose of the organisation, that we can galvanise an industry that the times can feel a little bit sort of superficial and perhaps, very commercial, and do something good with that. So it's kind of brought that all together.
That's an incredible story. How did that feel at the time? Because that would have been a different world that you were kind of entering.
Yeah. Well, which part? The taking in an extra child or the...
Both.
Like a funny sort of sidebar, but she moved in about 2 weeks before we got the mail confirmation of my husband at the time's vasectomy. So we were not expecting to have 3 children. The age difference between her and my middle daughter is very small, so there's only 8 months between them. And I had another child as well, and my father had just passed away. So it was kind of a whirlwind, but it just felt right to do it. Now I look back and I think I was a bit crazy. I had just returned to work. I'd literally been back at work maybe a couple of weeks from my second maternity leave, and it felt like chaos at the time. But now I just am a mum with 3 kids like anyone else who's got 3 kids. So you just kind of adapt and move forward.
Yeah. And how was it? Obviously, you introduced to different programs and different, you mentioned him being incarcerated. How was that process?
Look, when people who end up on the streets or who end up living rough, and oftentimes who end up in jail, I think you've got to sit there and understand what their underlying motive is, because I don't think that people are born bad. I think people are born, they make bad choices, or they have bad circumstances that lead to them making different choices. So when you sit with someone, like I sat with Bella's biological father, and he told me his story, it was horrific. And when you are exposed to things like this, you've got to try and understand like what's behind it, and then how do you actually make a difference, because I think that's probably been the part for me that made me want to do more. Was before I would judge people harshly if they were making bad choices, but when you hear why or what happened in their background, it kind of makes you pivot a bit more to ask what's going on that made them make those choices instead.
Does that no judgment lens carry out through all of your life now? Is there like an element of...
I wish I could say that I had ever... I wish I could say I don't ever have judgment. That would be a lie. I always do try and understand people's underlying motive. So when things are really... When I come up against things that are really frustrating, I do try and put myself in other people's shoes. So would that put me, say that I don't come from a place of judgment? I think we all do, in all honesty. I can't see a world where you wouldn't. But I do try and stop and pause and go, what's driving what people are actually doing, as opposed to just judging what's happening on face value.
Has there been a lot of elements actually of your life through UnLtd and through your personal life that have crossed over? Because obviously you've got a very big job outside. We're here to talk about that, but you've got a very big job in the, I'm going to say, real world as well. There's like two sides of this. What have you learned from one side that's carried over into the other?
Yeah, look, UnLtd gives me a lot of joy. So, I work at OzTAM now, and I've been there for 2 years. So I spent 6 years at KPMG in consulting. And in that role, which I enjoyed enormously, I got a bit further away from the industry that I grew up in and the industry that I loved. So I think that what UnLtd's done for me is it's kept my network of people I care for and the industry in which I've had a lot of passion for close. And I've personally appreciated that. I think on the more sort of professional side, when you do big jobs in this industry, and I have done for quite a while, because I'm an industry veteran. I won't say, too old, but I am definitely an industry veteran. You learn a lot, so that allows you to bring good things back into an organisation like UnLtd. I mean, I did some risk management stuff for them, and I've done some measurement programs for them when I was on the board, and different skills that actually were in my day-to-day that I was able to translate back to help the organisation. And that's, kind of helped me personally. I get a lot of joy out of my involvement and being able to make a difference and supporting the team that really make the difference, as in the UnLtd team. But on the other hand, like for me, it also keeps me connected to the people in the industry that I love, because, most of our industry are involved in UnLtd, and the really good eggs that sit in our industry, they're all involved. So, that's the people that make up the core that help us do what we do.
I love that. So many people are kind of searching for purpose outside of their day job. And I think what you're talking to is that, like, you don't have to give up the day job to be able to be involved in things. And the amount of people I've coached, and I think I'm just going to quit and I'm going to go work for a charity, or I think I'm just going to quit and I'm going to, go and do X, Y, and Z. And then when they look at the reality of that, they're like, do I want to do that financially? Or, is that really what I've been working towards? And for some people, absolutely it is. Yeah. But then for others, it's that kind of, how do you create that dual hybrid lifestyle, I guess. You're obviously an absolute machine, because you took on 3 kids, the big gig, there's certain people that do everything, and you're definitely in that bucket. But what advice have you got for people around that tension between doing your day job and doing the things that you're really passionate about?
Yeah. So look, it's probably a couple of things. I'm a big fan of a side hustle. So I think that I've seen some people do it really, really well. When I was at KPMG, we had a guy in our team who was creating an ice cream business on the side, and he was able to do it for a number of years and then went and moved into it permanently. So there's an opportunity to do a bit of both in that you can pick a side hustle and make minimum commitment. I will put a certain amount of time into something that I do to allow me to do that. But I think the flip side of it is that people find time for the stuff that they love. And if you really want to do something, like in my view, you'll find a way to make that work. So, a few years back, the UnLtd board were talking to me about, like, they were sort of, Kaz, we'd love you to put your hand up for chair. And at the time I was becoming a partner at KPMG, and I just had, my plate was full. I was renovating. My elderly mother lives with me as well. I have the 3 girls. I'm a single parent. And I knew I couldn't do it. I was like, I can't give enough to do that well. So I said, I'll reiterate my commitment as a director, but I'm not ready for that now. When I took on the OzTAM role and I got back closer to the industry that I love, a partner at KPMG is it's an amazing, but it's a long hours and it's a lot of travel and stuff like this. And my OzTAM role, while still challenging, didn't have the same ask on my time. So it meant that I could do that. So you've got to decide your limits, right? Because did I want to become the chair a couple of years ago? Well, yeah. Was it the time right for me based on the stuff that was happening in my universe at that time? No. But is it right for me to do it now? Yeah, which is great. So I'm fortunate that I've had the chance to stretch into that more recently, now that I have got the capacity to do it. So I think it's a bit of, follow your passions, keep your side hustle going, but just be realistic about what you can and can't actually do, because you take on too much, you just fall in a heap.
And you don't enjoy the journey then,
No.
right? I love the advice that you're giving there around, like, you can say no, but you don't need to say never.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's really key kind of take out from that.
Which you've articulated so much better than what I actually said.
I also like what you said around the percentage, like with a side hustle, because with the rise of AI, everyone's kind of, what is my side hustle within this space?
Yeah.
And I like what you're saying around what's the percentage of time I'm going to allocate to that, because I think you can get swept up in different things. I also think people avoid going after the things that they love, whether it be a side hustle, whether it be the purposeful work, because they're scared and they don't want to admit they're scared. I was working with someone this week, and a couple of weeks ago, she was like, I really want to get into fashion. We had a moment of tears where she was like, she's in the media industry, moment of tears. And she said, it's too late. I'm too senior now and I can't just jump ship and decide I'm going to be a stylist. And we spoke about this, and it was like, well, actually, you don't need to completely quit your job. Yeah. You can actually just go out and explore a different way of looking at things, and just take it small, have some small projects. And actually, I caught up with her again this week when she got back from holiday. She was like, oh, I've decided actually, I don't think that's right for me. I might just learn a language. Yeah. And I had to call it out. I was like, you're scared. Like the fashion is so important to you that you really want to do that. And actually you're hiding behind, I'll just try a language because it's got no meaning to you. And she just looked at me like, ugh, I know. So I think there's an element of build on what you're saying around, like, yes, people need to do it, but face your fears as well in this process. Can we talk about your career? Because personally, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, I could learn a lot here. That journey from where you are now to where it all started out, can we go through that and see what nuggets are in there?
All right. So I'll go back to year 9, which seems a bit weird, but in year 9 they sent a career counsellor in and they asked me a lot of questions, and one of the questions was around how you like to spend your time, and I said to them, I actually get bored easily. And in year 9, this person looked up the matrix and then said, you should work in advertising. And that was it. So I made my decision in that weird meeting in year 9 that was what I wanted to do. So I started in advertising when it was really hard to get a job, and there was, a big sort of global kind of economic crisis going on. And so I wrote 130 letters on a typewriter and got my first job as a receptionist. So I started right in the very beginning. I've been, it's been a balance. I hate it when women say luck because, I think we often attribute it to luck, and other people might attribute it to other things, ability, capability, etc. But I've had a combination, I guess, of luck and just hard work.
And sorry, can I just challenge that, because I was nodding along. It's not just, it's core capability.
Yeah.
Like you were capable of doing it, and that's why you could do it. Because this is what the research says, and this is what you're drawing on, that a woman will say she got to where she is because she worked hard, or because she was lucky, or someone else gave her the opportunity. And a man will say, oh, it's because I've got the core skill, and like I'm at war against that. So you did it because you were more than capable and you had the skill set. But agree with you.
and I guess it just started me in. So, I very quickly got given an opportunity in that agency to do production for a while, and then they gave me an opportunity to do media for a while. I kind of love media, and then they said, pick it, you're doing so well in both areas, you could decide which pathway you want to go into, and I chose media, and I kind of haven't looked back. I mean, sometimes you don't just have to go with the side hustle. So to your earlier point about your friend, I mean, I've always been quite focused in the longer term, so I knew, once I got in agency, what I wanted to achieve in agency, and I just went and focused on that and, moved through quite quickly. Was running large teams, when I was really young. And then I liked the idea of a client role, and I got a client role at Coke, and then I like to learn. So I always stretch myself, put myself in different environments. So I've kind of done a combination. I've worked in holdcos and independent agencies. I worked client side for a number of years. I've worked on the publisher side for a while, and then when I saw the rise of consultants in customer and marketing, I felt very interested and chased down a job in a consulting firm, and now I'm in measurement. So I think that, I seek challenges and opportunities. I double down until I can do my best to master it as best as I see, that I can, and then I want to look for other opportunity. So it's kind of been a bit of that, but I'm always thinking about what's next. So if this all fell in a heap, what would I do next? And that's kind of ever present in my mind. And then I just go and hunt it down. So
we've got to pick up on that, because if this fell in a heap, what would I do?
Yeah.
I want to explore what you mean by that.
Oh, things happen now. I mean, our industry at the moment is going through a period of turmoil. We've got lots of redundancies, we've got mergers, we've got technology replacing humans. You just got a heap of different dynamics that are playing out. Historically, there were other factors, COVID and, market conditions and global economics and stuff like this that come in and out. So there's no... I feel that most industries, there's not a lot of security because the world's changing. I think the media industry at the moment, there's probably a little bit less. So you always got to think that something could happen. The boss that loves me might leave, and they may be someone else who comes in as my boss, which has happened to me once, and they might not like me. So things change. So I'm always thinking about what that world looks like, and if anything didn't happen, I love what I'm doing at the moment, so but in the back of my head I'm like, well, what would I do? It's just something that plays out for me all the time. I kind of don't step away from that.
Are you saying that you almost take the worry out of it by having a plan? It's almost like a contingency plan, an insurance plan of I'm growing who I am and what I want next to make sure if this doesn't go well. Is that what you're saying?
Well, a bit of that. I mean, I would probably steer away from the word worry. I don't spend my life worrying about whether my job's going to be there tomorrow or whether it's not. I've never really had to do that.
But do you think you can do that because you've got a plan?
I'm aware of the fact that that could change. So, so I wouldn't say I worry about it. I don't spend a lot of time worrying about a lot of things. If something's really making me worry or I'm not sleeping really well, I go to bed that night, wake up the next morning and go, what am I going to do differently so I don't have to feel that way again? So worry's not a big part for me. But, in the back of my head, I'm always wondering what a plan B would be.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a beach somewhere. I wouldn't mind retiring to the Gold Coast at some point. So, or somewhere where it's warm all the time. So I'm kind of always thinking about that.
That's what I took from what you said, that you don't worry,
No,
but
don't worry
because
about
you
it
have a
much,
plan, because it's almost like you're forward thinking. I just quite like that concept of the insurance policy around, if this doesn't go well, what does next look like for me? Instead of what I think people do is just get themselves into a worry spiral of oh my God, what if this doesn't go well? It's like, well, no, actually answer the question is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I just spend a bit of time. I even personally, at the moment I have a big house, teenagers that will eventually move, my mum in the granny flat in the backyard. I'm already working out what life will look like in the future when perhaps kids are not there as much, or, my mum's 84, she's not going to live forever. Like, what would that look like? So I just spend my life going, where would I live? What would that be? Out of curiosity, not out of worry, but just because I like to think about what that might be next, when I know that it probably won't be what it is now.
I like that a lot, and I think it's a good point for everyone listening at the moment, because as you said, everything is a little bit in turmoil for a lot of people at the moment. You've had a very interesting career. What have been your biggest learnings from your career so far? It's a really hard question.
Yeah, okay. Biggest learnings. I think if I would give people advice, I say make time for others. So you never really know when something might come back, if you know what I mean. So like, I've always had people who've invested time in me that were in the industry for a long time and would catch up and spend time with me, and like, I do that for others. And it's amazing how much, like, if you treat people well, if you give time to people even when you don't know them very well, if someone asks for assistance or advice, you'd be amazed at how much time I put into that and then how much I get back out of it. So I think that like, probably the learning now that I'm more mature in the industry and have been in it for a while is that once you've got knowledge, share it. When you've got opportunity, help others, that kind of piece, because you never know when that might come back in a really beautiful way. And I've been lucky with that. Like, I've had a lot of things that have come full circle, and someone I knew years ago has all of a sudden been a client or become a friend, and then we've had other, good things that have come out of that have been quite beneficial. So I think that's probably that piece. I think on the hard learnings, it's a bit different. This industry's tough. Like, it's better than it was. Like, when I was coming through, when I was having my kids, and there was no maternity leave, there was no sort of support for people in that. So you've got to invest in your job and your career and your success, but you've also got to realise, like, that is what that is. Like, it is a job, and it's can't be your life, and it can't be your sole purpose, and it can't be your reason for getting up in the morning. So I think it's probably a bit of that, really. And I think in the later years with kids, balance. So I've never been great. I always take on too much, like way too much, because I like things. I want to do stuff. I'm not good at saying no. So I've probably the big things now is sort of going back to what I was talking about earlier. Decide when the time's right. Decide what you can and can't do. Try not to take on too much. I do it a lot. So
if you could give, do you still do that now?
Yeah, but less so. Look, I do, but generally it's usually out of interest. So someone comes to me and says, "Oh, have you thought about this?" Da, 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 and then I'm like, "Oh, that's really interesting," and then I go and lean into stuff. But I'm a bit more considered with some of that stuff now, because I've had those moments where I've been completely swamped in sitting under too much, taking on too much at one point in time, and then realising that that's insane and I need to stop doing that to myself.
That will be really common for a lot of people listening to this. I think so much of as women, it's like I think it's twofold. One, we're interested and we're like, I'm hungry, I want to find out more about that, and I want to be involved in that. And I think there's the other side that we've always been told we need to be serving others and we need to be like providing value to other people. So it just keeps us on that loop of busy, I guess. That's what I see with a lot of my clients anyway, who kind of, to use your language, struggle to say no. It's like, oh, I don't want to let that person down. And I've been working with so many people recently who are just burnt out off the back of not knowing what their non-negotiables are, and not knowing, if I say yes to this thing on this list, it means something else has got to come off, it's an opportunity cost and a sacrifice. What advice would you give to people that are in the thick of like never saying no?
Okay. It's a tough one because I haven't mastered it always. But yeah, I kind of look at my world a bit for me. I did this when I had kids, a few years after I had kids, because at first I was really struggling with getting that balance right. I have kind of me, mental health, and my kids, their happiness, well-being, safety, security, and then my job. So like this triangle. And if I am trying to get all three working at any point in time, I cannot. I just what's the impact going to be? And I had a decision recently that had come my way about something that really made me take a pause and think about what the impact would be to me and my kids. And I decided, that wasn't the right path. So, yeah, I kind of just try and take it back to that. Some of the things that I've said yes to that have created the chaos that have made me feel overwhelmed have been some of the best things I've ever done. So it's really hard to say, like, would I have changed stuff? But yeah, maybe not. But now I'm more considered.
I was working with someone this morning and she had burnt herself out, but she was saying all the right things to me. She was like, now I'm going on a retreat. I'm saying no to projects. I'm going to get an assistant. Like, she had all the tick boxes of stuff.
Like I say, that's why I sort of said before, sometimes the things that stretch you the most are the things that, give you the most. I would put that in my time at KPMG is that I learned unbelievable things with amazing people doing really big business problems that mentally stimulated me like nothing else and was amazing, and I'm proud of the stuff that I got to do there. She was like, I'm a bit angry, Mum, because you've got more time now, and I feel like I didn't get that when I was a bit younger, and my younger sisters, sort of benefiting from that, and she felt like maybe that wasn't her reality. And I said to her, look, we're seeing things in different ways, because I think that I did that for you. Like, I worked that hard doing those things for you to give you the stuff that you wanted and needed, and a good education and the nice things in your life. But you think I did it to you? And I'm like, but that's not really what played out. Like, we're seeing it in different perspectives. So, yeah, like, I think that when you're in those situations, you've got to really take stock, because I really wouldn't have seen that would have been the way that she saw that. And I was getting mental stimulation and achieving stuff, but doing it to provide, And her experience of me at that point in time was not the best, which is disappointing. So for me as a mum. Yeah.
How do you feel about that now?
Oh, look, we talk about it every now and then. It's part of, when no one's got a time machine, so you kind of can't go back and change it. Look, when she said that, when she told me how she felt, I felt hurt, and like I'd let her down and disappointed in myself. But equally, I was kind of going, you need to
at the time her kids were like traveling around the world following her with her career, and she said I felt terrible, and like the mum guilt and the shame was huge. She said, but like now they're like the most resilient, they travel, and like it's just that flip of like, it's almost like time. And then we see the reasons why, and everything works out in the end. It does have that feeling.
Oh, look, you hope so, right? Because, I mean, my mum worked when I was growing up, and that was unusual when I was a kid. So, and I was, you see these 80s videos of kids running around the streets until the street light turns off. Like, that was us. That was when we got home. And sometimes, mum travelled with her work and my dad worked late. It was to an empty house. So you have that experience, but now I go, it did teach me a lot of like really good work ethic. I look at my eldest daughter now, and who we had the conversation with, and she's second year uni, she's doing a double degree in mechanical engineering and business. She's going amazing. She's got multiple jobs. She's got that work ethic and focus and ambition and drive. I mean, I wouldn't profess that she got it all from me. I'm sure there's a huge proportion of that's just inherent in her, but I imagine that we would have influenced that. Yeah,
which I think is nice. And it goes both ways. Like my mum gave up work when she had me, and now like I remember hit my 20s and my mum was like completely lost without me because she didn't, to your point, keep that spark, keep that like foot in the door of different things. And I then as an adult felt the pressure of, oh God, now I'm responsible for your happiness, So I think there's that, no matter how you do it, I don't think there's a perfect way, but I think there's the perfect way for you and your family, because as a mum, you've got to make the decisions that are right for you at the time. And I think as long as everyone's being authentic to themselves and honest with themselves, they're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like I had a lot of options. As a single parent, you're ultimately accountable for it all.
Yeah.
So you do what you can do, like you do the best that you can do. I mean, I think that's the hard thing about being a mum, is you never know if you're getting it right or wrong. There's no playbook. Sometimes you do it well, sometimes you're not that great. Like sometimes you can be a bit shit. So it's not always consistent.
I want to talk about, there was a statement that I was interviewing Katie Riggs-Smith and Kathy O'Connor from O the other day, and I put a statement out there which was CEO is the best job in the world, and I asked them to argue true or false for that.
Okay,
I'm going to ask you the same question.
Okay. Look, I weirdly, I actually had a conversation with someone that I met with this morning, and I said to them, there's something that I really like about being a CEO of the company, because you get to set vision and you get to lead the team on a pathway, and you get to make change and have influence and do all of that stuff. So, and that's really rewarding. And I really enjoy it, and I'm lucky to have a really supportive board around me and a really amazing team. So I enjoy that. But you're also ultimately accountable, and if anyone makes a mistake in your team, it's your mistake. Like, you can't deflect that, nor should you. So it comes with a lot of responsibility, but I'm enjoying it. So, and is that maybe because sometimes I struggle with people telling me what to do? Possibly, but you're still accountable to a board and a chair and the people that are there to do it. But there's something quite nice about having that role and being able to lead the way you want to lead within an organisation that personally feels good to me. I enjoy that. I hope my team experience it that well, because you try to be a good leader for them, and I hope that's kind of what people are seeing at that in that role. So
I always say to my training programs that I run, like, manage up, like from a feedback point of view, like give feedback up as well, because I feel like when shit goes wrong, right, it trickles up eventually. Sometimes it doesn't trickle up quick enough, but it eventually makes its way to the top. But like when it comes to positive recognition and feedback, that doesn't tend to happen so much as you kind of go higher up the ranks. And I'm always telling my more junior people that I'm working with, I'm like, compliment and give like good constructive feedback to the people that are at the top, because they don't hear it. And they say that the CEO is the loneliest job in the world, because you've got accountability from the board, and they're there to make sure that the numbers are being hit, and then you're accountable for the rest of the organisation. So I can so see how that ends up becoming quite a lonely place.
Yeah, look, I absolutely can be a bit like that. My experience is slightly different. So I have a very supportive chair. So Mark Buckman's chair of OzTAM. And I enjoy working with him, and I'm really fortunate that he's an ally of mine and supportive. So if I'm experiencing something, because the big thing is you can't just go and have a moan, right? It's not like you can sit there safely and, say some of the things, nor should you. So I'm lucky that I've got a good relationship with my chair, that he's involved and he cares. So I can do that. If you were in this role and you didn't have that, I think it would be quite different. You'd have to go and seek that support elsewhere because it's not up to your team. Like, while it's nice to hear positive feedback up, it's actually not their job, to pump up your tyres. So, because that's not what they're there for. You're there to do that for them so that they can succeed. So, I would say if I didn't have Mark, I'd probably just go and seek that support from somebody else that I respect and admire who's in a similar role. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a member of Chief Executive Women. I've got some other friends that sit in CEO roles. I can talk to. I have good people around me who I can talk to, male and female, that are in challenging roles that will share time with me if I want to discuss something that's not too confidential. Otherwise, get a good coach, but in my case, it's been a bit easier.
I think that's really good advice for people because it's not necessarily the CEO role, it's any role, right? If you're not getting what you need from inside your team and within the business, where can you go to get that external, whether it be validation, feedback, support, whatever it is you need? I think people can sometimes feel like isolated in terms of like, oh, well, I'm not getting it here, so there isn't any options. But reach out, ask for a mentor, like think about peer-to-peer, like, if you, who are the other companies that are doing similar things in your space? Like, how can you connect with them? I think that's really good advice that you've just given there.
Yeah, and I think you can do that and get a lot. So, I've got someone who I've known for many, many years who is offshore and ex-industry but lives in another country now. So I can have good conversations with that person without feeling like there's a conflict of interest in talking. I mean, I don't disclose everything, but without there being any real challenges, I can get good advice. I mean, separately to that, I can fill my cup just by spending time with people that I know I love and who love me. So, in the absence of having that support, go and find the people that when you see you, they think you're great and you'll feel great. Like, it just happens that way. You'll feel good because you're spending time with people you love, and because those people, you'll feel that love back. So sometimes you're having a hard day. I mean, the best thing you can do is go and sit down with your kids or your family or your friends. Like, it doesn't always have to be a professional coaching thing to help offset a bad day. Yeah.
Why do people love you?
Oh, God. Depends who you ask. I think if you talk to my close friends, like my close lifelong friends, they would say that I'm a really big supporter and I'm always available and, good ear and stuff. But they'd also say that I'm very good fun and I, because I have a lot of joy in my life and I laugh a lot and I have a lot of fun. I live in the moment. So I think it's probably a bit of that. Maybe the fact that despite my age, I still have a bit of a naughty streak. So it's that combination of that. But yeah, I think it's maybe that. I don't know, it's hard. I've never really asked anyone actually. So it'd be a weird question to ask. I'll go home and ask my kids. They might be like, I actually couldn't tell you. I don't know. But yeah, I couldn't, hard to articulate really.
I think there's a big part. Like, I find you quite a remarkable person because if I think of like what you've been through and there's this quite glamorous woman sitting in front of me who's just kind of self-assured and got her shit together is how I'm feeling being in your presence. But the journey that you have been on to get here today is quite unbelievable.
Yeah. Look, like when people understand more about me or know some of the pieces of my life that are not always in like some more broadly there, like discussed, they go, oh, you should write a book, Kaz, like or you should do something like this. But I don't know. I think for me, it's just kind of been my life. I haven't had the most hard life. Look, I had a very, very difficult, really, really tumultuous divorce, and that has been problematic ever since. And so it's been hard to deal with. I look after my mum. I lost my father a few years ago. Like, I've had these big moments that have been quite hard. I think part of the reason I took Bella in is because I was adopted myself, so I have this other side family. And, you know, I met my biological mother. So I've got like all these pieces that sort of sit in and around my life. But I don't feel sad or anything about anything for very long. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Sometimes I joke around and go, I don't know if I run that deep, but I obviously do. But I kind of have a way of just dealing with what's in front of me and then finding a way forward and then trying to let it go and then just keep going to the next thing and not spending too much time in anything that makes me feel too sad for too long or too frustrated for too long.
What would your book be called?
Pardon?
What would you call your book?
Oh, God. Okay, I'm going to flip that. I'm not going to answer what my book would be called, but I'm going to say like I've always joked around about if I had to put something on my headstone, which is so depressing a thought, what would it be? So it wouldn't be a book title, but I always think that I would never go to my grave wondering if I could have lived more or done more, because when something happens that's an opportunity for me, I kind of just jump in and give it a crack. So I don't know how I'd turn that into a book title, but yeah, it's probably something like that. But I'm not sure anyone, like people say to me, Kaz, you should write a book. And I'm like, I'm not sure anyone would want to read it, to be honest. So I don't know if I see it as interesting as what other people perhaps might see it. But I know that, you know, it's not a normal, you know, path in some cases. So
I do think you've got a fascinating story to tell.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can see why people suggest that to you.
Yeah.
And I actually think you are going to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I keep thinking maybe then I go, I don't know how to read it and probably don't have time. And I'm not very, I'm a massively self-indulgent person, if you know what I mean, like where I'd spend a lot of time talking about myself. That would feel really weird to me. This feels weird to me. So,
yeah, everyone says that.
It's like,
I think we've got to get you writing this book.
Yeah.
I think I actually think you do what I can see it in your. I'm watching you very.
I'm not so sure, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
That might be on the not know maybe later.
Yeah, I think it's a not now, but a not a never either. Like I don't think it's a no. I think you are going to end up doing that. I can see it, and I think that your journey, there's so kind of like two halves to you in terms of, and I think that's why you say you're so busy, because almost like there's two of you, but there's actually only one.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that you've been able to laugh through life, even though it's been chaotic and busy and you know, moments of hardship. You just seem like someone who's been able to keep the laughter throughout.
Yeah, most of the time. Like there are moments where it feels really overwhelming. It's been a while actually since I felt like that, to be fair. But there have been moments in time where I've gone, oh, this is just too hard. Like there was one when I was becoming a partner at KPMG. You know, I was renovating the flat. My mum was living in the house. I was trying to go through the partner program, you know, homeschooling, COVID, blah, 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 blah. I no back at the house for 6 months because the neighbours complained about something, and everything felt hard. And I remember I rang the firm at the time and said, I think I need to step out of the partner program because it's just too much. So there's like moments where I'm like, oh, this is pretty tricky. I mean, sidebar, they did actually, to their credit, the CEO rang me and said, if we're making it too hard for you to come in, then we need to relook at how we can help you. And they made it work for me, which was amazing. So sometimes this allies, you know, people in the business, in organisations can really help you. But on the flip side of it, like it felt really difficult. It felt hard to get out of bed. I probably drank more than I really ever wanted to. And, you know, like most of us. through COVID. But I got to the other side, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, I could take stock and go, well, you got there, like, and it was okay. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just the role you go on. Like, life's not easy. It's actually not. I don't think anyone could say that they have a really easy life. A lot of people have it way harder than I've ever had it. Way, way, way harder. And, I feel very, I'm lucky. I've got a beautiful home and healthy kids and a great job and amazing friends. And so even when I have a bit of a knock or something's not going right, I still have all this other stuff. So,
and you're still you.
yeah, like I'm still there. They're not going anywhere. I hope not. So I'd have to be a real asshole for my mates to abandon me. They're lifelong friends. So don't see that happening. So, yeah.
And there's this expectation that we're meant to be happy every moment. And I think people hold themselves accountable to that of like, oh, well, the last couple of hours have been a bit miserable. So am I not happy at the moment? And it's like life has been set up wrong for us in terms of we feel like we're meant to feel happy all the time, every day. And the reality of it, we're just not like...
No. Yeah.
And it's not meant to be. And I think half the problem is we hold ourselves accountable to, oh, well, I'm meant to be happy every day and every minute. And it's not how the human body works and how life works. You mentioned a couple of things. One is allies. And you've mentioned the word allies a couple of times. How do people build allies within an organisation?
Yeah. It's a great question, actually. The look, for me, I look around to people I respect and admire and then try and spend more time with those people. And then it becomes a bit more natural. You can't sort of force it. It's a bit like mentoring. I think it's really hard to force mentoring someone. You either have a good connection that works or it doesn't. You need to find people that are out there that are supporters of what you want. So, in that case, with the example I gave for KPMG, there are a number of people in KPMG that were senior partners who I'd forged relationships with for a couple of years, and I could tell they liked me. I could just tell, and I liked the way that they operated. And because I came from a non-consulting world into a consulting world, I saw in them skills that I didn't have because they were a lot of them were long-term in consulting capacity. So I gravitated to them and spent time, and I would, ask questions. And if anyone offered me time to help, I would take it, even if I wasn't entirely sure what that would offer. So that helped create it fluidly. But I probably wouldn't have really said I'm in here building allies. But I didn't, because I didn't realise that's what I was doing. But somehow that's what I was doing, yeah. But it was, I see the people I like and I spend more time with them, and the ones that I didn't, I spent less time with. Like, I kind of just got further away, and that helped me. And then those people will see your worth, and then they will come and make a change or make a difference or try and help you, and because they have had a chance to see your worth because you've spent time with them. So, I mean, I would say if you're a junior person, that's not a bad way to do it, is look around your organisation for the people you respect and admire, even if they're not in your team or your boss or otherwise. And if you've got a chance to spend time with them, go and spend time with them. And if you haven't, create an opportunity where you might be able to. And then some of that stuff will flow out. Yeah.
You need people to be mentioning your names in rooms of opportunity, right? And if you don't make yourself known, you're not going to be the one's name that's put forward.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also just it's not even about the putting forward. It's some people are just supporters, right? Like there are some people in our industry that fight for people, fight for different outcomes. I feel like most of the board on UnLtd fall into that, who would make the time to improve things for life for others. I know some members that we've got one member that just joined our board recently, James Bays, who I know he's a real ally of women. Like, I know he is. And I know he really wants to make a difference. So there are people out there in our industry that you see out there that you deal with that will do stuff to help improve life for all if they're given the chance in the smallest way possible. So find them. There's quite a few of them, actually. So sitting out there in our little world. I think we do a great job at finding them at UnLtd. They're the ones that give us the media book, and they're the ones that attend our events, and they're the ones that speak at our programs, the ones that we celebrate at the big dream that's coming up. They're the ones that I'd go look for them. Yeah.
And James Bays is a great shout out,
It's
because
good,
I
yeah,
love
it's
that man.
Just a good bloke. Like, I mean, there are others on our board that I feel the same about, like Jason Tinelli joined recently, and we've got some other new people, and people like Siggy has always been great. Like I said, I'm lucky to spend time with that group of people, and to be able to use that time to be able to do good stuff.
What a privilege.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for this. All right, so at the end of every episode, I ask who your limitless woman is that you would like to celebrate.
Okay. Limitless woman. Gosh, I think you did give me a heads up about this, and I might.
This is the only question people get a heads up about.
I know, it's too funny. Look, I think that for me, like many years ago, I worked with someone. I mean, she's overseas now, with a woman named Annie Parsons, and she took a CEO role like early in her career after an accident that killed the prior CEO unexpectedly, and she had to step into a huge, enormous challenge. And I ended up working with her for a number of years, and we remained friends. And so, look, I think that she was sort of a pioneer in there wasn't many women in senior roles at that time. So I do think, when I think back about people in our industry that are like, that demonstrate that sort of just get up and, put your big girl pants on and get on with it. I really saw that in her. And when I heard her story about what happened when her very dear friend, who was her boss at the time, was in this accident, and she had to step into the role but was dealing with the loss like that, when she talked to me about that, it just made me realise, gosh, you're in this role because of you're capable, but also because she was thrown into it. So I don't know, it just stuck with me. I think that and the way that she then did that for so many years with good success was something I found really interesting. So yeah, maybe I'd probably go with Annie for that, because in our industry I like to have someone close to reality, to be someone who I see the things in that I like, or I would admire, or want to aspire to have elements of, because it's easier to work out how you might do that for yourself. So I wouldn't pick someone, amazing sports star or person or something like this that was doing other stuff. It's probably something like that.
I've heard so many stories of how amazing Annie is, and never known that was how she ended up in that position. That's fascinating. What a woman.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, as I said, like, you hear these things like that and you kind of go, at the time there was very few. I think there were 2 female CEOs, very few senior women in the industry.
Wow, incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I've got so much out of this personally, so very grateful to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And massive shout out to UnLtd and all the work that you guys have been doing. I'm in awe of all the charities that you look after and the impact that you have. So thank you for all you do in that space as well.